that music was so different from us. So he was creating instruments to facilitate these different intonations. And the lyra is a very old instrument. Alexander the Great was playing the lyra. Lyra comes from David, from the Jewish culture. King David, lyras. Lyra is the instrument of this. It was just Hebrew, it's an ancient instrument. It's Apollo. Yeah, it's so you have this god, the music of the gods was always expressed in lyre. The lyre allows you to decide the extension of the string, the intonation of the string. You can do it by hands. And it's personal. It's like a guitar. In our society now we have a guitar and you sing your song, you compose your songs on a guitar. At the time, the lyre was like Leonardo's own guitar. He writes poetry in music. That what we have is a poem with the notes and the integration of the notes and the poem. So he gives us like a theme, like in Bach, we have one theme, and then he will improvise with the song, the continue. But in that, it was a conceptual musician. So music absorbed poetry. The notes, the names of music become poetry. The same way the words of the prayer to St. John gave life to our music, and they gave us do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, si. They came from the prayer. In the past, Lucretia, for example, you know Lucretius, and he, in the Vero Cultura, he was talking about these hymns, prayers to the god, to Apollo, to Venus, and he had entire prayers. Then what the people did after, with Christianity, for example, they took a prayer of Lucretius for Venus. They took the work of Venus out, and they made a prayer to the Madonna, to the Virgin Mary. So this recycling has occurred in history all the time, and has always existed. So the prayers we sang go to God, and so all this transfer, it goes so far that if you see the statue of Newton in Cambridge, at the Trinity College, under the foot of Newton, under the statue, there is a phrase taken from the Vero Cultura of Lucrezia. The phrase is taken from there. Molière, Don Giovanni, entire phrases inside their plays. Lucrezia, people went crazy. And they took entire poems. And the poems had rhythms, they were like 6, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6, 6, 6 times, and then one instead was 7. So there was a rhythm in the sound, in the music of the ancient that was there. Alexander the Great slept with the Iliad as a pillow. We think of Alexander the Great as conqueror, but he was a student of Aristotle. He was, in a way, his own Leonardo. He was bringing with him people to explore and see the stones, the trees, the green plants. Explore. Because and remember that his pillow was the Iliad, the book of the Iliad, which at the time was a personal book that Aristotle had made for himself. So what a copy, original Aristotle, that gave to Alexander the Great. And throughout his 12 years of going around the world, he slept on the Iliad. It was, again, literature. Culture was vital for his life. Now, this sound is an important concept because normally we think that Leonardo is in Italy. Italy is in the Western world, right? We are Christians and we believe in Christ. the important thing is when we are Christians, one thing is wine. Because wine is the only word that is common everywhere. We call wine it everywhere, not Christianity. So wine is an important part of our life and of who we are. And the other thing is the sound. When we say that our religion, our holy scripts come from the word is a sound. Now, for the Jews might have been the letter, right? And then the alpha, A, B, C, the alphabet comes out. But it's actually the sound. The word is a sound. And now, but the word, what is a word? It's not mute. The word is a sound. That's what we risk to miss. So for Leonardo there, you don't have Jesus speaking. There is nothing written. There is no word, right? But there is a sound of a word that is no longer there. So he's God in the Plotinus, which same Plotinus means Plato, because Plotinus put together Aristotle and Plato, put them together, right? So Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle are synthesized into Plotinus. So the reading is more through Plotinus, because Plotinus then gets transformed by Christianity. Plotinus was not a Christian, was anti-Christian, right? And also he died close to Napoli. And these are all Southern Italians. And he died because he was against the Christians. But then the Christians took his philosophy and made it theirs. So St. Augustine eventually transformed this whole thing. But when you see that painting there, you see the sound of Jesus, and you don't see the sound coming specifically. All Jesus is a sound, but he's immobile. God is immobile, and God is inaudible. You cannot hear. You don't see where the sound came from. You don't even, the mouth is barely like this. You don't have a mouth saying you will betray or something. No. The sound is coming from all his body. The symbolism is all there. The hands accept it. The hands that goes against it, hesitant about that, resistant. The sound is going like a wave. Strong. And you say, where's the sound coming? If he doesn't move, he's not moving. Because it's God. So the sound, you don't see where it comes. It emanates by the nature itself of God. Emanates itself. And then you see all this reaction, the hands, the knife, the sword. Everybody's traumatized, right? Goethe, it was said, if you look at a painting, you can really say that painting could have been done only by Italian, by an Italian. All these hands, everywhere. Hands everywhere, a connection of hands. Each group is an opus, is like one act of play. There is a story behind each one of them. Each apostle means something for the church, for the future. We are reading their papers. We are not reading their papers. Something different than others. Some apostles say something, some apostles write different things. There is a story behind each one of them. And it's alive. It's happening. It's moving. It's playing with sounds and music. In fact, I even say that is the first Italian opera. That is a complete opera with all the acts, the past and the present, and the resolution of the opera. At the same time, you sit there and you can stay there 2 hours, listen to the opera. You have all the characters, and you can listen to one, listen to the other, by knowing their history. If you start searching the history of San Bartolomeo, the history of Saint Matthew, the history of Saint John, if you go, and Judah himself, even a victim of that destiny, right? If you sit and start telling yourself all the story of these people, not even 2-3 hours will be enough for you to finish that opera. At the end, you leave as if you had been in the theater listening to an opera. So for me, it's Italian opera. I didn't say that before, but I think that's what it is.
Yeah. You notice that music is the shaping of the invisible. Can you tell us the parts of the
What's the invisible? What is the invisible? The shape of the invisible. Now, there is an image of God out of you where God creates and creates with measuring with mathematics, right? Creates with geometry and creates with the weight of music. Music is an act of creation. Now, for Leonardo, what is music? Music is a vibration, right? You could see the vibration, the sound, right? When you pluck a string, right, and the string vibrates, you have two vibrations. One vibration from here reaches our ear. So if there's a string, and pull the string, the sound goes to your ear, right? And that your perception. But then the string vibrates on its own, has its own. So you have all these electric things going through the strings, and the other they go through the air that goes through. Already in that simple action, look what is happening. All these vibrations are all regulated by mathematical proportions. And when you go and study these mathematical proportions, you find numbers, much numbers, that really are infinite numbers. And in front of that infinite numbers that occurs in nature, you see in a tree, you see in the DNA now, you can see in a cauliflower, you can see in a sunflower, in the seeds of the sunflowers. You can see all this, then you start thinking, the invisible, we don't know, but it's there. You don't know that the number is there, but it's everywhere around us. In a shed, you're walking at the beach, you take a shed, look at the shed, and there are all the spiral, and all there in one place is one. And it's nature. And he loved nature, he explored nature, he looked for shells. He was wondering why there is shells in the mountains in Italy. Italy, in the mountains, he said, they're far from the water, and there are shells. He was wondering, why was that? What has happened? Maybe the sea was here, but how is this possible? How could the sea be so high? That, even designed with the same number proportion, the hurricanes have the same spiral. The essence, the invisible essence of the world. Not just the sound, but what is behind the sound. And behind the sound are, when people talk about a secret, not that, what secret was he holding? It was the secret that they all knew. It's not a secret. Everybody knew from Pythagoras, these numbers. Everybody knew from Archimedes. That was it. How do I put together? So you have a sphere, and you have a cylinder. And you put the sphere inside the cylinder, and you want to measure the proportion between the sphere and the cylinder. It's impossible for us today. He did. Archimedes did it. So when these things were done, Archimedes loved so much his own concepts that he came up, that he wanted to have apparently the same for his grave. And Cicero, when he went to Caesar then to look for the grave of Archimedes, because he was killed by a Roman soldier, but they didn't want to kill him. And they looked for the grave. They recognized the grave, they said, Cicero says, because he saw the sphere and the cylinder. The cylinder comes from Anaximandro, 300 years before Archimedes. And this guy already knew, he said like, this object is falling on Earth here. He already knew that on the other side, he came with the hypothesis that it's happened the same thing. He didn't know there was a sphere, he thought it was a cylinder, but already knew there was another side, that we were suspended in something. So what I'm trying to say is that when America was discovered in 1492, and we think that they knew, at the point we found out the world was a sphere, it wasn't true. They knew already long before. They knew centuries before Christ. That's the Eratosthenes even measured the circumference of Earth with an error of less than 1%. Like the Earth is like this, 40,000 kilometers. Eratosthenes was able to measure up to with 3,000 kilometers of mistake.
I think it was the reason the excitement of the Renaissance era.
Because they found out that they were like, what? They knew already.
He was not just a musician, he was a mathematician, he was a painter.
But today we say,
How it's possible?
today we say just a musician. Today, at the time, you couldn't say that. You could not be a musician. You could not be just a musician. Does it make sense? Music was the result. You had to be a geometer first. You had to be a mathematician. You had to be an astronomer. You had to be a lawyer. You had to know grammar. You had to know rhetoric. You had to know so many things before they would allow you to know. Do you see what I mean? And the music was the end of the cycle. And then Leonardo brings painting over music. Today, we can learn music without knowing philosophy. It's a different thing, you know. We can play an instrument today.
Why today's music is different than
Totally.
yeah, and why?
Today, we practice hours and hours all our life, right? Leonardo could not do that because for him that would be a waste of time. He didn't care about playing a Beethoven sonata, right? He cared about the proportions, the numbers, the meaning of the Beethoven sonata. How Bach and Beethoven sonata are representing the essence of the world. Bach, he cared about seeing the music of Bach, reading the music of Bach, listen to the music of Bach. But he wouldn't spend his life learning how to play the music of Bach because his brain was searching for all that was in music, in the painting, in technology, and in sculpture. When the Davide, Michelangelo sculpted the Davide, the same block of marble of the Davide, Leonardo wanted to get it himself. Then there is the images of Leonardo. Leonardo was a very handsome, beautiful man. And people say we don't have paintings. In fact, his teacher, Verrocchio means the true eye, vero occhio, occhio vero, the true eye of Verrocchio. Verrocchio had made a statue, David, which is the David of Verrocchio, which represents Leonardo when he was 16 years old. Have you seen that image?
Yeah.
That's Leonardo. That's his face.
My question is, my next question is that all these geniuses were in the same era, in practically the same town in Florence. I mean, is this the face or
Okay.
how it is?
Why genius is in the person? Okay. Now, what happened?
Not just geniuses, but
Yeah, I know, but
Michelangelo.
why? Now, why Archimede in Syracuse? You know, why Pythagoras in Crotone? You know, where nobody even knows where this
Was
is.
this the culture? I mean, Italian culture, like the Hellenistic culture, was the Greek thing. I mean, it was this culture brought this kind of phenomena, or just a fate?
It doesn't happen by chance. Many people work together in generations, and people read what people did before us,
Yeah.
and that's how we learn. For example, Newton. From Archimedes, the next genius after Archimedes was Newton, and then Einstein. So this is the line, because all the books from Archimedes, once the Romans came in and killed Archimedes, even the books of Archimedes were lost. One was in Byzantium, another one was in the Muslim. I mean, the Americans are now trying to clear from the prayers that were written all over the writing. So there's very little survival. For a long, long time, nobody could read Archimedes. So if people had been able to read Archimedes before, then there would have been another genius before Newton. Newton was a very simple guy in a way. He was like in his 24, 25. He invented things that are unbelievable, really unbelievable, and happened in England at that time. You know, there are different things that getting together. And what Newton did was enormous. And if you go in ancient times, how this culture gets transmitted, how do we get excited about that? Again, is the transmission of culture. You write something, and I come 2 generations after, and I have the opportunity to hear what you're telling, what you wrote at the time. If I don't do that, I can make mistakes. Christopher Columbus, he made a big mistake. He was looking at the papers of Ptolemaeus. He wasn't looking at the papers of Eratosthenes. Because between Eratosthenes and Ptolemaeus, the Romans had come in. The Romans didn't care about philosophy, they didn't care about pure mathematics, they were engineers. They liked power, war, building, bridges, homes, palaces, temples, but everything was engineered, not, it wasn't philosophy. Right? Ovidio was sent here to Baco, exiled here from the Romans. Now, what happens in this mechanism is that the knowledge was preserved, abandoned for some time. Columbus took the wrong numbers of Ptolemy. So he thinks that the Earth is not 40,000 kilometers, because Eratosthenes told him. He thought it was 20, 25. right? He goes to Portugal, and the Portuguese say, you know what, your numbers are wrong, because Eratosthenes was saying differently, and they didn't take his project. They said, you are wrong. Then he goes to Spain, right? They said to Spain, this is my project, I think I'm right, right? And Spain says, okay, let's try, right? That was a mistake in 1492, when 250 before Christ, Archimedes and Eratosthenes, which were in the same school, Japanese school, and were communicating, exchange information, they have been able to measure and prove that the Earth was a sphere. You know the Eureka, the concept of Archimedes Eureka, is because when he was in bathtub, he came out, he found out that Earth was mathematically for sure a sphere, because they knew that the sea was round, because with the ships, every time they would go to Egypt, they would see that the water was round. That when they were arriving with the ship, they would see it before the tip of the mountain, and then they would see the port. So they knew the water was like this. And then Archimedes said, but if the water is like this, it must be all like this. Because water cannot stay like this and then go like that. Right? Because the nature of the water is going to fill any empty spot is there. So that's what happened. The Eureka is that. He said, I found out the Earth is a sphere, it's round. Let's measure the sphere. And they measured it. The same way they
The last question I want to ask you is that in Codex Altanicus, we know that Leonardo invented some musical instruments and
what are they? What are they? So there is two approaches with the music instruments. He was applying technology to solve some musical problems.
Yeah.
The flute, for example, he created the flute with the rectangular, so that with the fingers, the musicians could tune the different pitch, like I said before. No? So a Do sharp or a Do or a Re flat would have different pitches, and that would allow. Then he liked parties, right? So he needed to have a drum. Instead of having 10 drummers playing at the same time, he would build a big drum, right? And then with an automatic system, he would have 4 hits and 4 hits on the other side. So you have this 4 boom, boom, boom. So he was creating instruments for a theater, right? Or if you had to create a canon, instead of having 4 musicians learn music and then enter a different moment of the canon, you created a wheel, a machine, where the sound, the wind and the sound, the vibration will enter the different canne, the different flute scale, at different time. So you will hear canon at the end. So the accordion, it creates also the air. The accordion that then comes out of this. So he was creating the watch, right? And then was invented, 100 years later. The bicycle.
These ideas of Leonardo's, in general, this era, does these ideas somehow shape your musical aesthetics or musical ideas about music? I mean, your personal.
Oh, personally?
Yeah.
I am fascinated.
Very brilliant.
I'm fascinated by the Pythagoras and the Archimedes discovery, which is the same thing that totally fascinated me. So when I play music, I look into that. When I choose a composer, I choose composers that have that.
And
Bach is my
do you
favorite.
see this great ideology and these great ideas in the music?
All great
When you are
composers,
playing?
all great composers put it there. It's in the music. It's there. It's inside the music. It's there. Bach, all over the place. If you have a piece of music, in one of the images I put before, there is one painting of Gaffurio. Gaffurio holds a piece of music, right? And from there we read music, right? Bach wanted a painting of himself made in 1741 with a piece of music, like the Leonardo painting, with his hermetic canon that includes inside all these numbers, all these proportions, has 33 possibilities of development. And they've done them with computers now. We're talking about actually 600 possibilities, all in this little thing. And Bach himself was like Pythagoras had the number 10, Bach had the number 14. If you put the numbers together of Bach, B, A, C, H, right, 2, 1, 3, and 8, you obtain 14. When Bach commissioned this painting to be admitted to an academia, was the most important academia of the culture of the time. He entered in 1741, 41 and 14, same thing. He prepared this canon with the 14 options. He had a jacket with the 14 buttons. They all have their codes, and there is a reason behind that. There is the 14, the 4 plus 1, and the 5 is an important number, because it comes from the Hindu culture, and the 5 is the equivalent of the Christ for the Hindu culture. So serious composers are serious philosophers at the same time.
Thank you so much.
You're very, very welcome. Thank you. Thank you for making us.
Exciting. Thank you.